You know, we're, you know, my ST believe we're so compatible as a loving couple.
Right.
My ST, you know, so I took all the limiting beliefs, crossed them out, and flipped it. And so morning went through your affirmations, and evening before bed went through your affirmations, went through those limiting beliefs, all the self-concept thing, and then went through any revisions I wanted, and not just SP, everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not talking about manifesting confidence. I'm talking about changing market directions on the stock market. I'm talking about getting two separate friends of mine in two separate industries. One of them is in my job now, in my career. One of them is in IT. Not only did the guy in IT get the job that he wanted, but he got several other interviews. I was manifesting everything.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that week, first week, I ran into my SP. I was out for a walk. Now, I was, you know, she lives in the town that I go to very often. I go to the gym there. But I was going to walk a different route. And I did. And she was right in front of me. But here was the problem. She was giving her number to another guy as I walked up to her. And I was just like, oh, God. You know, and it was like the first stage to, actually the first stage before that, it was basically like the first stage to what you were saying to me, and then you know, to lead to where we are now. And I couldn't see it at the time. I did partially see it. I was like, oh my God, you know, I've just run into her now.
Yeah.
And so we started talking. She told me, I'm going to be honest, she told me, I didn't even want to ask if she'd been thinking about me, number one. But she did tell me, I don't think we're compatible. You know how I feel, blah, blah, blah. She used to live in New Zealand. She'd been living it a long time ago. For many years. She only came back because the passing of her family member. And because she's inheriting some of her inheritance here, she had to come back anyway. But she was saying to me she was planning on leaving this country because she doesn't like this country and going to live in the other side of the world, basically.
Yeah.
And I stood there.
So she literally said, I want to go to the other side of the world and just restart my life and be over there. And wait.
She said to me, I've got friends there. I had a good life there before. I said to her, I don't suppose there's anything I can do. I said, I don't suppose it would make any difference if I asked you not to go. I literally said those words and I almost started crying. You know, I went home and I cried.
Yeah.
And it was all opposite to what I affirmed. You know, this was the fact that I ran into her was phenomenal, but what I got back verbally was opposite beyond belief. Like it was just opposite. But you know, and then I texted you.
Yeah.
And then we talked about it, and you said you just said I implore you just to keep it going, because the fact that you have run into her basically says that you're doing something right, but there's something still not right.
Right. And that's something not right was just our assumptions not fully forming yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes people get lost in the 3D in the sense of, okay, I'm saying the assumptions. So as soon as they come back to me, they're going to be a perfect, whole and healed individual. And they're just going to show up like exactly to the T. And in many instances, you do see drastic improvements. But what is our innate nature as humans? To pick apart all the things that are incorrect and to almost disprove our own selves.
Yeah, basically. And I would urge anyone to do homework on the quantum side. Now, the only reason I say that is because as a physics major, I understand, and this is where I don't understand this law of attraction, set it and forget it nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't believe you need to forget anything. I don't think you should, because when you think about when you're trying to create something on the quantum level, it requires energy. How can you be putting energy into anything if you're forgetting? That's what I can't understand from a physics side.
Right.
So that, you know, even from a quantum physics, you've got classic physics, you've got quantum physics. So I would implore anyone to read a bit more about quantum side of things and basically, but you know, without digressing too much, but you know, I did my own homework as well. I put in a little bit of background for homework, and what I loved about you, Persis, is that everything you're saying covered the logical side of it. And I mean, really covered it, not just, oh, your subconscious mind projects this. Because I can, if I'm thinking it, I can imagine billions of other people going, or thousands of other people going, well, how does something in the back of my head project something in the front of my eyes? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But the understanding is on a quantum level is that you're recreating, there's a quantum field of energy, subatomic particles, you're recreating that field.
Yep.
But going back to what I was saying, you basically, I persisted, I carried on as if basically the only thing I did was run into her. And I tried very hard not to think about the leaving the country thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, do you know what? I said, it doesn't make sense. If I can manifest half the things that I've manifested, there is no way. It just doesn't make sense that I can't do this.
Yeah.
So, but I did need another coaching session, and I'm going to need another one because I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied on the basis that, in my eyes, I'm not taking my eyes off the ball here. I'm not just going to go, oh, I've got my manifestation, because I can't argue that I have yet, because we're not official.
Right.
But there is no way I can be here today giving this story where it is, where I'll get to at the end, if this isn't real. Now, so basically...
So I gave you the plan. I'm going to refocus you. So I gave you the plan after the first one. I gave you, like, in the last 10 minutes, I came in and I swooped in, as Persis does, and she saves the day. As Persis does, and she saves the day. I gave you the affirmations. I gave you the routine. You went, you applied it. You met her in the park on complete happenstance. In that entire happenstance, she told you very hurtful and displeasing things, like she wants to move out of the country. She's going to go somewhere else and start a different life. And that, she was literally giving her number to another guy when you were in that process. So obviously not the best of things, but you had me in the back of your head trying to urge you to be like, listen, a thought persisted in becomes an assumption persisted in comes into a fact. And then we got call 2. I kind of repivoted you again into where we need to be, because when we get partial manifestations, all that means is that the assumption did not fully form. Because if your assumption is wavering to a point where the presence or absence of an individual dictates how strong you know that assumption to be, you didn't create an assumption, you created a kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we said on that call.
But the other thing I will say about everyone talks about SATs. I can't honestly say SATs works for me.
Yeah.
And I can vision. I daydream all day long, but I can't. And I've got visions of us with kids. I've got those visions, but I can't categorize. When people basically, I really wanted to isolate. Why is it I was getting all these other manifestations, but this one was just
eluding you,
going on bumps of the road? And there were differences. One difference with my revision technique, what I will say is I only had one revision for each manifestation. So if I was trying to manifest the markets to move in a certain direction or make a certain money, I would only work on one trade. So the Wall Street's going here, and I'm going to make this money.
Right.
And within 3 to 7 days, it happened. I didn't make revision after revision after revision every day, revise my day. And I can see that from a quantum way as well, because if you keep making revisions every day, somewhere along the line, you're going to contradict yourself.
Right.
Now, you can live in obviously we live in parallel realities. But you can only exist in one at that point in time.
Right.
So whilst you're trying to create that parallel reality or get into that parallel, if you're revising all the time, my view on it is if you're creating loads of revisions, you could end up contradicting. How can you create several different things of one reality? It won't make sense. So I basically made one revision, and I did it in a step, as in me and my SP met up, we had a really great day together, and we're spending so much time together. It's so nice to be holding her and kissing her again. That's it. Then when it gets to that point, I'll create another revision. And then I know people call it manifesting in steps, but I call it creating a story. And go, well, what's the next part of the story? What's the next part of the story? That with your affirmations, put it all together.
Yeah.
So we had our next session.
Yeah.
And I had to vet. I was like,
I know.
I used the stock market to get the money to basically pay for your session second. And I had to do it because
Not a bad investment. Not a bad investment at all.
not a bad investment. No, not a bad investment. Not considering the fact that I'm seeing her tomorrow and she's texting me, and I just, I could cry, and I have. But and basically, I'm not gonna lie though. I mean, there is no way anyone can say like feel it real, because I mean you can, but I would go out with my friend. We went out to London. Basically one night. I went out to the following week, so the week after the second session. So the second session we sort of.
So yeah, let me break it down. Yeah, like in the second session, guys, because I see some comments that you can't really see. So I'm just going to peek in and interject here. In the second session, I basically gave him what I call like my pivots, where some people get off track. They need answers to really hard, tangible questions. Like when he experienced everything he experienced, it was deeply difficult for him to be like believing in the process. So I had to break down things step by step by step, explain to him how and why each thing happened. He was able to find solace in the concrete answers I was able to provide him, which he said was like obviously very beneficial compared to coaching experiences he's had in the past. And then because I was capable of actually just answering the question, and as soon as he had a question, I had an answer, because I've just facilitated this so many times with hundreds of individuals that I just know exactly what it is as soon as you start to talk about it. That's just like my level of proficiency right now. That once I gave him that pivot, once I told him like technically we don't have an assumption, we have like a wavering thing, like a wavering thought. He went back to work. He went back, he put his head down, he ran his race, he did what he needed to do. He found a lot of solace in the comfort that I was able to provide him. And then what ended up happening is, I think it was about a week later or so, like you just continued to persist. You found so much solace in what it is that I told you and the answers that I provided you, that you just put your head down and you just did the work and you just ran your race. And then in that process, she came back a completely different person. So let's go there and touch on that.
I would say it was transgressional. And here's the other thing, I didn't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
I simplified the whole situation. Sometimes ignorance is a little bit bliss.
True.
And basically, you can sit there and ask question after question, but you might not like the answer that you get. And I am an emotional person, and as I said to you on the last coaching call session, what I got, that the feeling that I was going through every day, it was like Groundhog Day. I do my affirmations, I do my revision morning and evening. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd see nothing on my phone. Not that I was necessarily checking 3D. In the back of my mind, but I have to check my phone anyway, because obviously I'm my job. But it was just like Groundhog Day. And basically, I felt like I said to you, I felt like that, when Superman, like in Man of Steel, you're just throwing kryptonite, and all you just do is get weak at the knees, you feel sick. Not like just a little bit nauseous. You get that nauseous feeling all the way throughout. And it's fun being out with your friends, but you know deep down you really want to be with your SP, or you really want to
right.
You just can't. I couldn't get it off my mind. I couldn't let it go. I'm sorry. It's just who I was. I couldn't get it off my mind. I had to accept that that's the kind of person I am. So we were out, me and my friend in London. We went to a cigar lounge. I love my shisha, and I do my cigars every now and again. It relaxes me. Not that I'm saying everyone go out and smoke a cigar, but it does it for me. And bear in mind, I don't drink, so that's my go-to. But basically, we were out one evening in London, and I got a text from them, and it said, "Can you please tell me how to sort this TV area out?" Basically, when we were together for that week, I said to her, I'm going to buy her a TV area, because we didn't have one for a TV. And it was only like $10. And when the day she put the phone down and we went to no contact, I had to get the TV. I posted it in her flat. I found a way to get into her flat, not in a creepy way. I just delivered it and came out. But she deliberately never picked up the TV aerial. She knew it was there. She left it on the floor the entire time in the hallway where it came through the letterbox. Until that day when all of a sudden her internet stopped working because she was getting her live TV off the internet. And she had to install the TV aerial. So she said, how do I get it working? I said, well, just do this and this. She said, but it's not doing it. I said, look, I can't. I said, I can't telepathically communicate with the television. I said, could you just video it and I'll tell you what to do? So, and I can I swear or not?
Yeah, you can swear. That's fine.
I shit you not. She video called me, and she has never video called me before. And now she didn't have the video on her because she's a little self-conscious. But I could see her on the TV, like reflection, so it didn't really matter. We were just laughing as if nothing happened. Like, I didn't want to talk about it. We were talking about this and what we're doing and everything. And I said, you know, we did touch on the other story a little bit, but we were talking for like half an hour. And I was with my friends at the time. You know, I wanted to cherish that. I took the opportunity while I was there. My two friends were talking to each other. So we were talking. Now, she's a bit of a dark girl. She likes to do things like grave hunting with her fam, like for her past fam. And she, you know, she's a spiritual girl. And I actually, last time I went with her, it was actually quite interesting. So I said to her, can I ask for a favor? I said, can we go grave hunting? And she went, okay, but you have to come to my church. She goes to a spiritualist church. So I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, she said, you have to come. I said, really? She goes, yeah, you have to come. I was like, okay. But in my head, I was going, are you kidding me? She's actually invited me to something. And I held her to it, but basically we had a long chat, and then you know, and I was really happy, and so I did, you know, left it at that, put the phone down, and carried on persisting because it still was a bit. She still was a bit like, yeah, but you know how I felt. I didn't want to talk too much about it. But we were in a really, like, we were talking and we were in a much better position. So if you imagine where we were when we met, when she was in town, so when she called, and it was like the graph is going up and up and up to the goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how it felt. So I was like, wow, I wonder what the next stage is going to be. So I scripted. Well, no, that was the day I changed. Like, that was what I said about the revision as well. And just did the one. And I said, we went and did this, grave hunting, went to church, we spent the day together, and then we were intimate in the evening. So this was a Wednesday, come the Sunday just gone, or the day before that, we were texting here and then, but it was still a bit off. It was limited contact here and there. So she inherited, the relative that's passed away, she inherited their house, which I knew was going to happen, but I didn't know how quick. And she said to me that I thought, oh, I'm designing what I want for the interior of the house. Then I said something to her which triggered her a bit. Or she doesn't like to talk about money too much. And I said, oh, you're going to have to get a mortgage for the house. And she didn't text back because it upset her a little bit. And I didn't know what happened. So I actually tried to get a hold of her the next day on a Sunday in the morning because I didn't know. I thought something had happened. So I tried to call her, didn't pick up. She called me back later, like about 10 minutes later. She said, sorry, something's happened, this has happened, that's happened with my family, and I've missed the bus to get to my mum's house. And I've got to wait. And I just said, do you want me to take you? Expecting her to say, no, you know. She said, you know, could you? And I said, okay, right, just wait there. I said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. So I took her, expecting to drop her off and then go home. Because I was in my gym. I was going to the gym that day. I was in gym and showered. So there's one. You don't need to look good to get what you want either. And I ended up spending the whole day with her. I helped her in her family member's house. And then we were kissing every now and again. It was like it was weird because it was like we were together, but we weren't together. I did find out that day about 3P, which hurt me a lot. 2 weeks prior, she was with 3P, and we had a bit of a heated discussion about it. I'm not going to lie, because it kind of crippled me a bit internally. I just had to go silent for a bit in my head.
And I want to just re-pivot you because I want to make sure I can record everything. So like once we got to this stage of the game where we came together briefly for a wonderful evening, spent the day together, did the grave hunting, did all the things like that. And then we just continued to persist. We heard something about a 3P, but we just kind of...
No, this was, we didn't go grave hunting that day. I was with her at her mum's house.
Oh, so sorry.
We did spend the day together. She told me whilst she was at her relative's house, well, okay, it was her mum, but her relative's house, she told me whilst we were cleaning up the house and basically, that was where she said it, and I just tried to let it pass over my head for that point in time and reaffirm. And then after that, we were talking. It was kind of this on and off talk about, if we stay, if we're together and if we're this, but we weren't obviously together. It was like on and off talking about being together, basically. And then I went to drive her home in the evening.
Right.
And I said on the way home, do you want to go for a drive? Let's just go somewhere. And I thought she might say, no, I just want to go home. She said, yeah, okay, let's go for a drive. So we went for a drive. Drove around for a bit and went past into another town, went past a friend of hers house who she hadn't seen, her best friend who she hadn't seen in a while. And she gave her a call. Then we went to meet her friend. And her friend was on a date with a guy she didn't really want to be on a date with. And this is where my other affirmations started to come in a bit too much. So we were on this date. I wasn't on a date. I wasn't drinking because I was driving anyway, but I don't really drink, but I was having hot chocolate. Everyone else was sort of drinking a bit. And at the end of the night, the date went, but I gave both of them a lift home. Initially, we went to her friend's house. And they were drinking a bit, and I didn't even realize what was going on. But one of my affirmations kind of started to come into fruition. I'll give you the affirmation. It's all women want me because I'm kind, loving, caring, supportive, which is rare in any other guy. And basically, she got a little bit hot with my SP, and then you can basically imagine where it went from there. Now, I didn't want this, but I actually wasn't sitting there, oh my God, this is going to happen. I was thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to be intimate with my SP. That's all she's any person like that. So, then it went to that without getting too... Yeah,
we'll just skip over that. That's totally fine. No problem.
We'll skip over that.
But basically, where are you guys right now? You guys are back together, basically.
No, we are seeing each other, which is where I taught my revision story.
I mean, you are kind of in a way back together. I mean, seeing each other, remember, is still,
at this point in time, we are, but I can't say it's...
You want more validation from it, and I totally get that.
Well, I don't want to push her. I don't want to push it. I'm because it's tying in with my story, but also I want to make sure my concept is fully on board as well.
And that's a really mature mindset of it. That's a really mature mindset, because the more that you have your concept on check, the more that she also comes in. And believe me when I say, I know you're not giving yourself full credit, but you are essentially back together, because otherwise, why would the woman continue to be with you in that type of capacity if she had no interest? Now, I know you're taking it slow, and we definitely love that, because you're respecting her boundaries and also letting her come towards you. But, at the same time, believe me when I say the stark comparison of I'm going to move out of the country and I don't want to be with you and we're not compatible, all the way into, even if you want to say seeing each other, okay, fine. seeing each other at the consistency and rate to a point where our previous conversation, you had to stop communicating with me because she literally called you, is a very, very different girl. One that now doesn't really see incompatibility anymore. She's actually totally for you.
Yeah, correct. But I'll add to that one, because on the Sunday, when she was saying, she got the house is hers, and obviously she needs to do it up. She needs to really do it up. And I said to her, it's going to be a big job. She wants ducks. We want the same things. We want the big house. It's her house, obviously. But I said to her, I didn't want to. I was like, should I ask it or shouldn't I? I said to her, she was like, I'm going to have this. I'm going to have ducks. I said, what about the country that you want to go to? She goes, oh no, I'm staying here forever.
Nice.
This is my house.
Now all of a sudden there's no country moving either.
I was like, what? I was like, okay, right, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's good house.
Yeah. This is a nice house. Yeah.
I didn't say any more about it. Didn't exist anymore. Doesn't exist. I am not in that reality anymore. That was when I knew I am no longer in that reality.
True.
When she said that, because that's weird. Like, I thought she might say, well, I'm going to do it up and get rid, but she's not. She's there. And basically, we talk about, she talks about it. She does, there is up and down bits. I will say that. That's why I'm saying, I won't say it's solidified as fact, and I'm playing it. I'm not taking my eye off the ball. I still do everything you give, and I'm still booking another coaching session.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, there are bits in conversation, like where she might say something where it's like, I don't know, but then she goes back to, oh, well, when she says, oh, well, you're the first guy that I've done, I've said this to or told this to, you don't say that to a normal, like just a regular guy that you're friends with. You say, like, if you're with a guy, but oh, you're the first guy I've said this to or had this deep talk with, and she knows that, and she texts me. And also, do you know what? I don't feel the need to text her anymore. I love talking to her. I really love it. I love talking to her.
Your confidence level has just skyrocketed up for sure.
Yeah, last night I had work. I was training in the simulator. Had a shisha. I've been training hard in the gym, so I'm taking a week off. Today I was playing N64. If any of that, I'm in that generation. I was playing N64, and chilling out. I was just chilling out in my room today. Yeah, I knew she was good. Yeah, she had things to do. Let her get on. And then she texted me, and then she said to me, "You're a bit quiet." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm just chilling. You've got things to do. I thought I'd let you get on." I didn't. I just and then in the evening, she literally, as you were texting me first, she said to me, "I've just noticed your energy's completely changed since 2 months ago." She literally said that, and I said, "Well, yeah, I've been working on myself." She said, "Yeah, but I just feel like you're different. You're a completely different person." That's what she said.
So I have some questions for you that people are putting in the chat. I won't answer them all because obviously I know we have a time constraint a little bit, but what is your daily routine that you feel like worked the best for you? I know that I obviously wrote you up a plan and that was part of your routine, but why don't you talk about, like, with what I gave you maybe? Because obviously the routine came from myself. Like, how did you implement it? How did you get on with it? How good was it? How good wasn't it? Whatever your opinion was.
I got a bit, I had to switch because I was standing in the mirror looking at myself doing the affirmations, but it's not like, it was more like, I got a bit bored looking at myself in the mirror in the kitchen, in the bathroom. So I switched to, I'd get up in the morning. I ran your affirmations through my head. I know them off by heart now, so they were just running through my head pretty much, not all of them at one go, but here and there. But in the morning, I'd run them. My routine was ritual, and it still is. So your affirmations, my affirmations, so my limiting, well, your
my equation,
your equation, cross, and anytime I still add to it. Anytime something pops up where my SP says something that isn't isn't what I want, I write it out in the same equation and cross it out and flip it on the right. And then every day I'll add that and read it. Because there were additions that I made as time went on that she said to me that I didn't like.
Right.
So I'll do your affirmations, the equation, any revisions that haven't come to manifestation, and then I write down how many days it took for that. And when it does come to fruition, tick it twice and write down how many days. And I don't think I've gone any further past 7 days on any revisions I've written so far.
That is amazing.
Sorry?
No, I was just saying, like, that is amazing. Like, it only took 7 days for the longest thing to come towards you.
Pretty much, yeah. Then I go back and do your affirmations again. So I seal it with your affirmations. But I don't just seal it with your affirmations. I'm not reading your affirmations. I know your affirmations. So I know them in my brain. So I will close my eyes, run through the affirmations, read the equation, go through the revision, and then go back, get my phone, look at a picture of myself in the cigar liquid, with a cigar looking like James Bond, and run through the affirmations again 5 times through my head and speak them out. So
you were very, very sincere is where I'm because I can see the comments and I know you can't, but essentially what they're asking you is like, they're kind of like wondering what kind of secret sauce you did. The secret sauce that he did was honestly, he just booked a call and he took the guessing out of it because he didn't want to be in a scenario where he spent all this time away from his person. He just wanted to like sit down with an individual. He jived with my types of teachings and he sat with me and I literally just problem solved his situation for him. I did his own manifestation equation for him. He also updates his manifestation equation practice, which is like, you know, live on my TikTok and stuff like that. And in that process, anytime he saw something that he didn't like, he went in and he added it in and he made sure that he was constantly revising his 3D for anything he did not like. And the longest time it took him to revise anything was 7 days. And this entire process, I just want to make sure everybody's really clear on that. From the first time of his call to when he called me about like, she came over and she did this and she did that, that was like 14 days. So even though he had doubt, I want to be very clear on that. Even though he had fears, I want to be very clear on that. Even though he saw very undesirable things in the 3D, want to be very clear on that. Even though she said she was going to move to an entirely different country and restart her life, none of that ended up happening. Circumstances do not matter. He stayed persistent in his head. Now, was he a perfect person by not having fears and doubts? No, but he didn't need to be that way. He also had the support system of myself of being able to problem solve things like on the spot and being able to provide him those answers. But even in that situation, he just did his plan. He took out the time. He sat down. He made himself feel uncomfortable because in the beginning, I remember you told me like, this just doesn't seem like this is the type of situation that's going to end up changing things. And just by focusing on yourself, I hadn't even given you a single SP affirmation. You know, I know you had some of your own, but you just focused on repairing the self-concept and she came in as an automatic consequence of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that I didn't talk about it. That is another thing. I did not. If anyone asked me about my SP, I would say, yeah. Well, if they said, "Oh, where have you spoken to her?" I said, "Not today."
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I should probably call me. I'm sure she'll call me something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I just don't talk about it. I just not talk. Like there is no point in talking about it because it's just not. You're going to get to the end of the conversation with that person. You're going to go, "That got no." And all you've done is wound yourself up. So just
don't do it. Don't humor it. Don't humor it.
Don't talk about it. Really don't talk about it.
But I will ask you one last thing before I let you go. How has the experience been? And I mean, obviously you're not a paid actor or anything like that, but like, I really want to hear from you. And I think other people in the chat also want to hear from you. How important was like this coaching for you? Do you feel like it was good? Do you feel like it was pivotal? Do you feel like
your coaching was the missing piece to the puzzle. And I'm not, I'm saying, I never want to go. I mean, I want your coaching. I never want to go through the last 2 months again.
Yeah.
Like, because it was so internally hard for me, and uncomfortable before we started going through things. Even when the initial stuff that came to fruition, I really I needed your coaching. I needed it. And I wish you were there in last year. I wish when I got into law of assumption, because it's very easy, and some of these coaches are very good. It's very easy to go on YouTube and someone will say, just affirm, just do this, just do that. Yeah. You don't know why you're doing it. Don't know why you're doing it. And the other thing I will say is I said this in another coach's YouTube. I commented on it and a lot of people liked it, but I meant it. I didn't just say it, but like, not everyone can do SATs. Not everyone can affirm. Not everyone, and it's like, what do you affirm? What do you affirm? What do you affirm when someone comes up with a success story?
Yeah.
Put it this way, and I said the same thing. Put it this way. Imagine a DC movie or a Marvel movie. Green Lantern isn't the same as Batman. Batman isn't the same as Superman. They all have their own powers, but they all work together to get the same result.
Right.
So
that's a good way to put it. I like that. Because
it's
not
your superpower.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the same superpower, and it's, you have to find what I know.
I love that.
But you have to find what is actually working, not what works for you. What is working.
This is so important, and I'm going to touch on this, and then I'm going to end the recording. But what he's saying, for those of you guys who don't love superhero movies as much as me and him do, is what he's saying is each distinctive character has their own thing. So like, as an example, someone like myself who's a serial affirmer, I live by affirming, I die by affirming, like that's my lifestyle type of situation. Affirming is going to resonate with me, but then maybe my brother or sister or cousin or nephew or God knows who is like a very creative person, or maybe they're a publicist or something like that, and they prefer like scripting. They prefer to journal things out, At the end of the day, the technique is not what manifests. What manifests is you actually changing the assumption to actually fit into the puzzle piece that you want to create as the final picture for your dream reality. It's not the technique that does it. It's the person actually implementing the technique to actually change the assumption. So whether you do the changing of assumption by writing it, whether you do the changing of assumption by speaking it, whether you do the changing of assumption by meditating or visualizing it, what matters is not the assumption. What matters is not the technique. It matters changing the assumption. Because at the end of the day, there's no superpower to visualization if my assumptions aren't actually getting changed. There's no superpower to me affirming and then peeking out the window and being like, but why isn't he obsessed with me yet? I don't see it. Where is it? That's not manifestation at all. You know what I mean? So that's a really good point that he mentioned right there. Don't worry about obsessing over a technique. If you can't do SATs, cool, keep it pushing. See which techniques resonate with you, because maybe what resonates with you is your superpower that's actually going to help you to facilitate results way faster. Because people like him that see results really fast in just 2 phone calls, his big secret, he sat down and he changed his assumptions. He had my affirmations, like he said, literally in his head. I think that's what you said, right? It's like in your head.
Yeah, my note, my heart.
Yeah, he's embedded it into his mind, and he sat down and he made himself uncomfortable again and again and again. And he is in a scenario where he's seeing his SP now, and they're back better than ever. She doesn't want to move out of the country. She doesn't want to do any of that stuff anymore. Now she's starting to see things in a different light, and he's not going to let the 3D, because he has the privilege of having her in front of him, deter him, because he knows he's creating everything with his mind. So anytime he sees something he doesn't like, he just goes back into the equation and he just revises it, and he just lists out things, and he just creates the counter beliefs he needs. And then his 3D starts to slowly match it. and he checks it off his list. And then his 3D starts to slowly match it and he checks it off his list.
Yeah. Can I say one more or two more things? I just wanted to just to add to what. The first thing is if you when one thing I will say is now I'm seeing it's amazing that now I'm seeing when you see everyone else, you know, in these situations, but they don't know law of assumption.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that you kind of get to this point where you're like, if it was me, I could resolve this. I know this. I know the answer to this.
Yeah.
It's like you've just found the hack to life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't tend to talk about it with everyone, but you know, because it's a bit with my SP, she's a bit too spiritual, so she hears about this. That was a bit of an issue. She does kind of tend to think it's taking free will, whereas obviously we know it's not the truth.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is even if you can visualize, because I say as I can visualize, sometimes it doesn't always. It might not work in the 3D as fast as say affirming would do, but you might like. Do you see what I mean? So you might be able to visualize fantastically, but it's just not the thing that works for you. I mean, as in works to get your 3D pushed out. If that makes sense.
Right.
So you know. Because I've just seen on Reddit this thing that comes from Reddit. I visualize. I can see everything, but nothing's happened in 4 years.
Yeah.
That just tells me that the visualization is the wrong technique.
Yeah. And not only that, but maybe there's a variety of reasons that could be wrong with that. Obviously, Reddit is not where we go. We know that now. But outside of that, just to be playful, you know what I mean? I've also had individuals tell me that I have been affirming for so much period of time, or I visualized every night for a year and nothing happened. And I'm like, well, did you try changing the assumption? Because sometimes people literally idolize the technique as being the thing that manifests. What manifests is you getting in here and actually changing the hard wiring. That's what does it. Because anything that's taking longer than 60 days, and granted, he took about 14, is not it. And he didn't even want to go through indecision. He just wanted to go to someone and be like, okay, here's my situation. What do I do? Like, and I just, like he said, like in the last 10 minutes, which is usually my period of time of talking in my consultations, I just draft up everything. I didn't just tell him what to affirm. I told him how to affirm it. I told him with what intensity, with what intention. I told him how he needs to rate himself on a scale of 1 to 10. I told him how to know that things are working. I told him how to play his subliminal, and even how to listen to it. And I literally told him each and every single thing. I told him what to do as part of my brain correction exercise, which is my psychology-based exercise that I formulated. I gave him no way to fail, and he just ran his course. You know what I mean?